Deep in the heart of the Brazilian rainforest, where the sun barely touches the ground and the silence is broken only by the cries of distant birds, a nightmare came to life. What started as a routine expedition by a group of wildlife researchers turned into a global sensation overnight. Hidden in the shadows of the jungle, they came face to face with a scene that left them speechless, and the rest of the world in absolute shock. A massive anaconda, longer than a city bus, was caught in the act, hunting a full-grown jaguar. Not scavenging, not defending, hunting. The footage was raw, real, unbelievable, and when it leaked online, it sent shockwaves across the internet, newsrooms, and scientific communities worldwide. Because what happened in that jungle wasn't just rare, it was something we were never supposed to see. So now, I ask you, what would you do if you stumbled across a serpent capable of overpowering one of the Amazon's most powerful predators? Drop your answer in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to join me on this wild journey into the unknown. What you're about to hear is not a movie. It's not a legend. It's something that actually happened. The Brazilian rainforest is unlike any other place on Earth. Towering trees stretch endlessly toward the sky, their thick canopies swallowing the sun. The air is damp, heavy, and buzzing with life. Every inch of ground, every rustling leaf, every shift in shadow holds a secret. It was here, just off the banks of the Purus River, that I joined a small team of field biologists led by Professor Almeida, a quiet, methodical man with over 3 decades of experience in Amazonian wildlife. We were tracking jaguars using motion sensor cameras, part of a long-term conservation project, but what we found wasn't a jaguar. Not at first. We noticed strange disruptions in the forest, broken branches, disturbed soil, large drag marks in the mud. And then, the strangest thing of all, silence. No birds, no monkeys, no buzzing insects. Just silence. The kind that makes your instincts scream. Joanna, one of the researchers, pointed ahead. There, partially submerged in a shallow swamp, was what at first looked like a sunken log. But as we moved closer, we saw it breathe, a giant anaconda coiled and motionless with a jaguar in its grip. It was real. It was happening. Right in front of us, the jaguar was still alive, locked in a struggle of power and desperation. But the snake was winning, inch by inch, squeeze by squeeze. We were frozen, not out of fear, out of awe. We were witnessing something almost no one in the modern world ever has. One apex predator being taken down by another, in the rawest expression of nature's unforgiving balance. That moment changed everything. But before I tell you exactly what happened next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen a predator become prey? Share your stories or thoughts in the comments. Now get ready, because what came next wasn't just unexpected, it was unbelievable. The giant anaconda, whom we later named Esmeralda due to the faint green shimmer of her enormous scales, was locked in a deadly embrace with the jaguar, a powerful male we had nicknamed Solano in previous tracking footage. This wasn't just a battle, it was a clash between 2 legends of the jungle. Solano had been one of the dominant predators in this territory for years, strong, agile, fearless. But Esmeralda was something else entirely, a serpent the size of a small submarine, easily stretching over 10 meters, with coils thicker than a human thigh. And she wasn't just defending herself, she was hunting. We stayed low in the brush, cameras recording, binoculars locked in. No one spoke. You could feel the weight of the moment. You could hear the tightening. Solano's claws slashed violently. He rolled, he bit. But Esmeralda's grip only grew stronger, her coils inching higher around his chest and neck. Joanna whispered to me, her voice trembling, "This goes against everything we've studied." Jaguars don't get hunted. And she was right. In nearly every documented case, anacondas and jaguars avoid each other. They're both top predators. Encounters are rare, and lethal ones almost unheard of. But this wasn't territorial. This was strategy. Esmeralda had clearly ambushed him at the river's edge, striking from beneath the surface like a shadow. Suddenly, Solano let out a roar, a sound so guttural, so raw it sent chills down my spine. He thrashed violently, breaking a nearby sapling, in two with his hind legs. But Esmeralda held firm, her tail wrapped around a submerged root, anchoring her with terrifying force. Then, just as it seemed Solano might break free, he stopped moving. We couldn't believe it. The king of the jungle had fallen. And Esmeralda, she didn't react with violence or fury. She simply adjusted her coils, shifted her massive body, and began the slow, calculated process of consuming her prey. That was when Professor Almeida said what all of us were thinking. This isn't just a rare event. It's a message. Nature always finds a way to remind us who's in charge. If you're still watching, you're as fascinated as we were. So don't forget, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Do you think nature's top predator is really who we think it is? Or have we underestimated the giants lurking just beneath the surface? Because what happened after Solano's fall was something we never could have imagined. We stayed rooted in place for what felt like an eternity, watching Esmeralda's immense body ripple and shift as she worked to pull Solano further into the swampy water. It was nature in its purest, rawest form, elegant and brutal all at once. But then something changed. Joanna noticed it first. Just beyond the tree line across the river, another shape emerged. At first, it was hard to see, partly hidden in the reeds, but then it moved, another snake, smaller but still massive, watching. We scanned the area with binoculars, and our stomachs dropped. There weren't just two, there were three, all of them enormous, all of them slowly emerging, almost in sync as if drawn by the energy of the kill. Professor Almeida's voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't just one predator. This is a population. That's when the reality set in. Esmeralda wasn't an isolated case. She was part of something bigger, much bigger. A group of anacondas, giants, living and possibly hunting together, something previously unheard of for this species, especially at this size. We began piecing it together from earlier clues. The drag marks, the broken trees, the eerie silence. This wasn't a random encounter. These snakes had been moving, coordinating, and possibly even using the river as a hunting corridor. Joanna, flipping through her notes, pointed out something chilling. We thought this was a jaguar territory, but maybe it isn't anymore. That idea shook us. Had the balance of power in this region shifted? Had the jaguar, one of the Amazon's most iconic apex predators, been silently overthrown by something even older, even more powerful? The footage we captured that day spread like wildfire. Within hours of being uploaded to our team's encrypted research server, it was leaked. And when it hit the public, it exploded. News outlets called it a real-life monster movie. Scientists across the globe demanded access to the raw footage. Wildlife forums lit up with theories, ranging from new evolutionary lines to possible mutations caused by isolation or even climate change. But to us, it was a reminder that we know very little about what truly happens in the places we can't, or don't, explore. And now I ask you, do you believe it's possible that entire predator ecosystems are evolving right under our noses without us knowing? Share your thoughts in the comments, give this video a like, and make sure you're subscribed. This isn't just about snakes anymore. It's about what else might be out there, waiting. And believe it or not, the jungle wasn't finished with us yet. We should have turned back. We all knew it. The air had changed. The smell of wet earth and decomposing foliage grew stronger, almost overpowering. Birds still hadn't returned to the trees, and the monkeys we'd tracked earlier had vanished. Entirely. Even the insects were quiet. We weren't alone anymore. Musa, a local tracker who had joined us that morning, held up his hand. "There's movement," he whispered. "Heavy." And then we felt it too, faint tremors beneath our feet. Not like an earthquake, no. This was rhythmic, purposeful. From the edge of the riverbank, we could see ripples on the surface of the E. Water moving fast toward us. We backed up slowly, silently, cameras still rolling. We didn't speak. We couldn't. And then she appeared. Another snake. Not Esmeralda. Not one of the three we'd seen earlier. Larger, older, scarred. Her scales were darker, almost black, with long slashes across her midsection. Battle wounds from years of surviving in the most brutal corner of the jungle. Her head alone was the size of a tire, and her eyes, they locked on us immediately, intelligent, cold, calculating. We later gave her the name Umbra, the Shadow. She didn't attack. She didn't retreat. She simply raised her head slightly, acknowledged us, then turned and slid silently past us into the trees, deeper into the jungle. We stood there, completely stunned. She had seen us, judged us, and spared us. Joanna broke the silence, her voice shaking. They're not just big, they're organized, they're evolving. In that moment, everything we thought we knew about the Amazons shifted. These weren't just animals following instinct. They were part of a hidden order, one we had only just begun to glimpse, an order where jaguars are no longer the top predator, where survival means understanding that the jungle has eyes far older and far more patient than we ever imagined. We hiked out of that forest slower than we'd come in, heads turning at every sound, hearts still racing from what we'd witnessed. Not because we were afraid, but because we had felt something greater out there. A force we couldn't explain. And when the footage was aired globally, the world went into a frenzy. Headlines read, "Anaconda versus Jaguar, Predator becomes prey. Brazil's super snake disrupts everything we thought we knew. Are there giant serpent colonies in the Amazon?" But no headline could truly capture what we saw, what we felt. Now I ask you, one last time in this part of the story, if you came face to face with Umbra, would you run? Would you freeze? Or would you bow to the Queen of the Jungle? Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button and be sure to subscribe, because next I'll tell you what this discovery means for science, the ecosystem, and what might still be waiting to be uncovered out there. Back in camp, none of us slept, not because of fear, but because of reverence. The jungle had shown us something it almost never shows humans. Not a myth, not a shadow, but truth. And that truth was massive, breathing, and terrifyingly real. Esmeralda, Umbra, the coordinated presence of multiple apex anacondas, each one rewriting what we thought we understood about predators, territory, and evolution itself. When we returned to civilization, the scientific community erupted. Herpetologists, ecologists, evolutionary biologists, everyone wanted to know, could snakes in isolation develop pack-like patterns? Could environmental changes be driving them toward new forms of behavior? Was the Amazon not just home to giants, but a kingdom of them? Even national governments took interest. Drone footage from our expedition was requested by wildlife authorities. Conversations about new conservation zones began. Tour operators were told to avoid the Purus region entirely, and amidst the scientific reports and media firestorms, people everywhere, viewers like you, were asking the same question. What else is hiding in the Amazon? Because if a giant snake can take down a jaguar, if multiple snakes are hunting together, if they are watching us and choosing not to attack, then we have to ask, are we exploring the jungle, or are we just guests in something much older and much more intelligent? I want you to think about that. Let it sit with you. Let it challenge what you thought you knew about nature. And if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, thank you. This isn't just a story. It's a reminder that we haven't seen everything, that the world still has places wild enough to surprise us, shock us, humble us. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe we've reached the limit of what's out there? Because if there's one thing I've learned in the jungle, it's this. The moment you think you've seen it all is the moment the jungle shows you something bigger. Until next time, stay curious, stay wild, and remember, the jungle is always watching.